We will mock you.
With a 14-team mock draft coming at you from the Fantasy Whisper.
Yes, we're back again.
Hey, let's pump up the volume.
Right here.
Fantasy Whispers here today doing another 14-team mock draft. We've got a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a defense, and a kicker. Be sure to follow us on all the major platforms. Just go to Google, type in the Fantasy Whispers, and whatever social media platform you're looking for will pop up number 1 or number 2. It's that easy.
Not number 2 for long. Soon we'll be the only ones you see.
It'll be 1 through 10.
Yeah, it'll just be repeats of. We'll make a bunch of burner accounts.
Burner accounts. I like that one.
So, Austin, where you got us drafting?
Yeah.
We're going to be drafting at 2 and 13. Johnny's at 2. Big Travy at 13.
Oh, interesting here. All right, so let's get into this, boys. I've been looking forward to this all week. I love me some mocking.
All right, let's do this. Fire it up.
All right, we're going to go ahead and start this mock draft here on Sleeper.
First one off the board, Saquon Barkley. Johnny, it's you at number 2. What's going through your mind right now?
My favorite player is still available right now on the board, and I was hoping he didn't go number 1, and he didn't. And even though the suspension is possible for Ezekiel Elliott getting maybe 2 games, I still feel confident with Ezekiel Elliott and that offense, so I will take Ezekiel Elliott.
While the computer's taking those next picks, I kind of want to ask you, why are you taking Ezekiel Elliott over some of these other guys near the top, such as Christian McCaffrey, Kamara, maybe even David Johnson? Why is Ezekiel Elliott standing out so strong to you?
I think, David Johnson at 2, I feel like there's no wiggle room there. I do like him a lot this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he landed number 1. But for me, Ezekiel Elliott represents the safest floor of any guys, and I have to hit on this pick. And I think what we've seen from Ezekiel Elliott, and this offensive line is going to get healthy. Dak's emerging; he's getting better each year. And now that they have Amari Cooper, teams can't really stack the box. So I think his touchdowns will go up from last year. And Alvin Kamara, I like him as well. But again, there's like a cap on how many carries he's going to get. Ezekiel Elliott is the guy. He's the bell cow. So again, I have to nail this pick with the number 2 overall pick. I got to nail it. And for me, it sounds like safest. It's the safest, but has very tremendous upside. And that I do think that Ezekiel Elliott can finish number 1 overall.
So it's not a knock on those other guys. It's just that Ezekiel Elliott has so much to offer. Safe pick, high floor.
Yeah, and you look at standard leagues, like Zeke is that number 1 guy for me because he had 40 carries more than second place last year.
Got it.
Those are 2 monster games as a workhorse back over your competition. So.
Awesome. So number 2 player off the board, then Ezekiel Elliott. Fire him up.
Lock it in.
We're seeing a lot of those other guys too coming off. Those Alvin Kamara's, Christian McCaffrey's, David Johnson's. What a top-level elite running back can do to anchor your team. It's such a hard position to find. So you're going to see a lot of those ones going off there early.
The surprise could be here that Davante Adams at 1.4. That's an interesting one in a standard league to take Davante Adams so early.
Anything with the 3 wide receivers potentially playing in with that one.
Yeah.
Could be on that one. So the other players taken off the board, Davante Adams at 4, Alvin Kamara went at 3. After Davante Adams, we saw Melvin Gordon, Christian McCaffrey, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, Joe Mixon, second receiver in DeAndre Hopkins, finally David Johnson, Julio Jones, and Big Travy now making that 13th pick. What's going through your mind here?
Well, I'm going to try a little strategy here of going upside down. I'm going to go 0 running back, even in a 14-team league, and I'm just going to try and test the waters and see how my team will end up. Little experiment.
And when you say 0 running back, for the listeners out there, what does that mean?
It means typically you're going to go running back early in your first 3 rounds. Probably, yeah. So instead, I'm going to flip that upside down, and I'm not going to take a running back at least for the first 2 rounds, and then see how my team shakes up. And the idea here is to land 2 top-level talents at the positions that are going to give you huge positional advantages in your mind. So I'm going to take OBJ with my first pick, let the turn come around, and see what I can get with the second.
All right, we'll see who comes back around on that one. Who would you be thinking would be an ideal guy to pair up?
So I
with
am,
Odell?
and he's here. So I'm going to take Travis Kelce here.
Ooh, Travis Kelce.
So the idea here is I'm hoping OBJ becomes the number one wide receiver in fantasy this year.
Yep.
I'm also hoping that Travis Kelce establishes himself even above the top 3 at the position. And then by doing this, I get that positional advantage every week, hopefully at those 2 spots, and then patchwork the rest.
2 elites there at the tight end and wide receiver position with your first 2 picks for Big Travy. Following the Travis Kelce pick, we saw James Conner, Nick Chubb, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, T.Y. Hilton, Leonard Fournette, Juju Smith-Schuster, Damian Williams, quarterback Patrick Mahomes off the board, Derrick Henry, and now back to Johnny, second round. Who you got?
So I took Ezekiel Elliott in the first round, and I'm liking the running back depth that I'm seeing here. We got Marlon Mack, Devonta Freeman, Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs. I would be able to land at least one of those guys if I wanted. So I don't necessarily want to take one of those guys looking at what my with the turn coming right back around. It is a 3 wide receiver, mock draft that we're doing. So I feel like it's important to grab at least a solid wide receiver here. And when I'm looking at the top, Adam Thielen, I'm down on Adam Thielen this year, so I'm not going to be taking Adam Thielen, but AJ Green is here, and we've talked about him in many, many mocks, and to me, I still think that he is being undervalued, and so with it being that he is the clear cut, I'm going to take AJ Green.
The thing I always ask about AJ Green is there a world where he is healthy all season and not in the top 10? I don't see it there.
I just don't see it.
After AJ Green, Devonta Freeman and Marlon Mack with the number 1 picks back to back. Going now to the second pick of the 3rd round, Johnny Game Time Hicks. You're back up here pairing someone with Ezekiel Elliott and AJ Green. Who are you thinking?
All right. Originally, I was thinking I was going to grab my second running back here, but it just so happened the guy after me who was drafting in the 1 spot went running back heavy. And so that left Keenan Allen, who we also have as a top 10 wide receiver. There's a lot of volume in that offense, so I'm going to pair AJ Green with Keenan Allen. I love his floor. He's always been a very solid wide receiver, so I will slot him into my second wide receiver spot.
Yeah, maybe not the shiniest in AJ Keenan Allen, but about as solid 1-2 there as you can get in the 2nd and 3rd round selections. Following up from Keenan Allen, we saw Josh Jacobs go, Kerryon Johnson, Aaron Jones, Sony Michel, George Kittle, Zach Ertz, Adam Thielen, Mark Ingram, Amari Cooper, Julian Edelman, which sets up Big Travy now for his 3rd round pick, pairing someone with Travis Kelce and Odell Beckham.
Yeah, I'm going to continue with the 0 running back strategy. I'm going to keep going here, and I'm going to draft Andrew Luck as my quarterback.
Jumping right in there, how confident are you of Andrew? 2 other exciting guys we saw still on the board with Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson.
I'm a little more confident in the continuity of the Colts offense than I am Packers, just because they have the new head coach coming in. Not saying that I don't think, listen, I'm a Packers fan. I love Aaron Rodgers. I'm very hopeful this year. But if you're putting up the 2 against each other, I think Luck has less of a story that he could fall off than Aaron Rodgers does, just based on unproven talent over there with Green Bay, minus Devontae Adams.
Fair enough. We saw them the back-to-back picks going at the turn. Phillip Lindsay and Chris Carson setting Big Travy up now for his 4th round pick.
I'm going to take David Montgomery here with my first running back. Going to rely on David Montgomery, a rookie. A lot of risk, obviously, in this pick with rookies, but we know what the Bears have done with draft capital to get David Montgomery. They have been nothing but gushing about his receiving ability in the offseason. I think that this is exactly what they want, is a guy that makes their offense versatile, and he's set up for a lot of touches. I mean, last year, Jordan Howard got 180 rushes in that offense, touches in that offense. That's a lot for a guy who couldn't catch. So imagine getting a back in there that can, catch the football.
Really high upside. The floor is low, as it could be as you're working in not a bell cow situation and you're a new back, but that's what the kind of stabs you're going to be taking when you're going no running back and you're getting your first one in the 4th. A guy who could have top tier value, near that at least, and you're getting him in the 4th. So that's where that risk makes it come in there.
Yep.
Cool. I like it. So following up there, we saw Stephon Diggs go, Kenny Galladay, Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, Kenyon Drake, Aaron Rodgers, Tyreek Hill, Mike Williams, Robert Woods, Tariq Cohen, setting you up Game Time. What are you thinking now with your 4th rounder?
So I wanted to touch on something before because of Travis's pick. I wanted to mention this. and this is fun. This is why we like to mock. We like to see the draft stock of certain players and where they've been going from the beginning of the summer all the way up to leading up to your actual draft. And it really shows, what people are thinking in the fantasy community. And what I find interesting is David Montgomery just even a month ago when we first started doing these draft videos was an 8th round pick. And now we're seeing that Travis took David Montgomery over Tyreek Cohen, which is very interesting because everything that we've heard to this point has been Cohen is the guy. They want to extend Cohen. They want to give him another contract. They love what he can do. And,
Cohen's the guy as they want him to be like their main guy.
Anyways, Cohen's not on the board, but you are. So you can't take Tariq Cohen. Who do you want to take?
But that's not my point is that it's a huge gamble, right? Taking David Montgomery over Tyreek Cohen at this point. And it just shows that
a gamble that Travie wants. But you're saying that ADP moves up and down, and the guy you're about to take, holding us in suspense, has moved up and down. Is that what you're saying there?
Not necessarily. I'm just saying I'm saying that that's an interesting backfield to watch because the ADP has risen so much to where Tyreek Cohen has always been going in the 4th round of all mock drafts, and now we're seeing that David Montgomery is now supplanting him as well in the 4th round. So it's just interesting, and keep that in mind moving forward. But with that being said, I'm going to take a guy that I am very high on. He is going to slot in, and right now he doesn't have that lead role, but the upside is definitely there on a team that is going to run the ball, and that is Rashad Penny. I am very excited about Rashad Penny this year and what he can bring to this offense of Seattle, who we know is going to run the ball quite often.
Interesting comments. Interesting pick there with Rashad Penny when you were just talking about muddled backfield. Do you feel like you just got the greater or lesser of the committee in Seattle as Chris Carson was already taken?
Chris Carson, that was, if Chris Carson, it would be, I don't compare what I did to Travis, because if Chris Carson were here, I would take Chris Carson right now over Rashad Penny. But the difference is that Rashad Penny, Travis, and I keep pointing this out on multiple shows, that Travis alluded to the second running back for Seattle had 180 touches last year. And so if you're going to tell me that Rashad Penny should, in theory, because there's nothing else saying that he shouldn't get those, he could get more than that. Because Chris Carson has never held up in his entire career. Rashad Penny should get at least 180 touches and be a very nice running back 2 for you. His
hot spots looked really good. He could definitely carry the load over there in Seattle. Whoever does is usually a productive running back. I'm really excited to see what's actually going to shake out this year. It's usually a surprise. But maybe you get some real value there. That could be exciting. We saw Lamar Miller go, followed by Eric Ebron. And then you just took Darrell Henderson.
Yep.
Tell us about that one, Johnny. The
fantasy community is very, very high on Darrell Henderson. We've heard all of the rumors and all the speculation about Todd Gurley and that arthritis in that knee. And for me, Darrell Henderson presents an RB1 value depending on what they do with Todd Gurley. We already know that they are for sure going to limit his touches. So Darrell Henderson has value right at this moment, and his upside is an RB1, and I'm grabbing that in the 5th round. But
let me ask you this: Does Malcolm Brown over there concern you as well?
No, because he's not the type of running back that he is a more thumper running back. Where Darrell Henderson has that home run ability, he is a Todd Gurley-esque running back. So that's why I like Darrell Henderson over Brown.
We know that the lead running back in the Los Angeles Rams and Sean McVay's system is a great piece to have. So the pieces then following from there was Chris Godwin, Jarvis Landry, O.J. Howard, Darius Geis, Sammy Watkins, Calvin Ridley, Deshaun Watson, Tyler Lockett, Matt Ryan, Baker Mayfield. Setting up your pick, Big Travy. Tell us who you went with and why.
Yeah, so I went with Tevin Coleman. Obviously, everybody loved the San Francisco 49ers last year. They were last offseason's darling. They wanted that offense to be something. Jimmy Garoppolo, of course, a slew of injuries knocked that offense off. Kyle Shanahan, we know what he can do with running backs. He typically gets them in the top 15. And then he just went and signed Tevin Coleman here, who is a guy he's worked with before and has had success with before. Do I understand that there's many running backs in San Francisco? Yes. Obviously, I went 0 running back. I got to put a couple stakes in guys down here. I like Tevin Coleman compared to some of these other guys down here, and I want to get wide receiver again after going back-to-back running back because we have 3 wide receivers on these starting wide receivers on the roster. So I'm going to go ahead and get Alshon Jeffrey here.
I'm a big Alshon fan.
I just think that the Eagles are going to be a nice bounce back offense this year. Carson Wentz fully healthy. That line is excellent. They've got other weapons around him. Jeffrey should have some really good touchdown upside with the Eagles this year.
Nice upside pick there in
Travis,
the 6th round.
Are you nervous for all the hype and the noise from JJ Whiteside or Arcega Whiteside coming?
No, you know my stance on rookie wide receivers. Unless they're a phenom, they really don't make that huge of an impact. And I don't see JJ Arcega Whiteside cutting into Alshon Jeffrey's, established rapport with Carson Wentz. So
after the Alshon Jeffrey pick, we saw off board go Jordan Howard, Tyler Boyd, Evan Ingram, James White, Russell Wilson, Robbie Anderson, Kareem Hunt, Carson Wentz, Miles Sander, Drew Brees. 6th round pick for Johnny. Tell us what you're thinking about.
So I am so jacked right now, like even more jacked than being on Mountain Dew, because I had planned and hoped that this player would follow me a few rounds. I knew I wanted to go back-to-back running backs in the 4th and the 5th, and I was hoping that this guy would be there and he would fall to me in order to complete my wide receiver trio. And boys, Will Fuller is still on the board, and I am telling people, I'm planting my flag right now in Will Fuller. This guy is a wide receiver 1 upside, and I know it sounds crazy, but if you look at his game-to-game stats, he has finished multiple times in the top 10 at the position during the week. And
do you know what he hasn't finished multiple
full
times?
Season. And
yeah.
I understand that, but if you, I never like to predict injuries. I never like to say and count on injuries in order to make my fantasy value. And so Will Fuller is a guy, when he plays, I know what he's going to return to me, and that is an upside of a wide receiver 1 and an average of a wide receiver 2. And I'm getting him in the 6th round in a 14-team mock draft, and I love it.
Risk built in, but a very high upside pick there with Will Fuller in the 6th. Off the board then in the turn, Doug Baldwin, Christian Kirk. Setting you back up now for your 7th round pick. Tell us what you're thinking.
I was really, really hoping that that Christian Kirk was going to be available for me in the 7th, but that would have been too much wonderful goodies on my team. So it just
weirder. These are the wide receivers that I love. You're the goodies now that you fought me years over. Now you love them.
I've always liked Will.
My
Ford.
inception is working.
That's the next level kind of stuff right there. There's levels to this.
Right, let's see here.
So right now, looking at Johnny's team, you've got strong wide receiver core, AJ Green, Keenan Allen, running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, Rashad Penny, Darrell Henderson. Will Fuller there is your 3rd. You got to make a play other than Christian Kirk. He would have been nice. There's upside there.
Yeah,
but not
definitely.
for your team. So who's it going to be? You got a clock ticking. You got a roster to assemble. What's going through your mind right now?
I'm very high on Allen Robinson this year. The stats don't necessarily back that up, but it's just a gut feeling that I have.
Nobody can be.
Right. And but the other guy that I'm kind of looking, and I can say this now because I know there's no way he's going to even make it back to me if I don't draft him here. But a guy that I would normally keep an eye on here is Royce Freeman. I liked him a lot last year. Unfortunately, the coaching staff didn't agree with me, but that's why they got fired. So this year he should get that opportunity. I do like Royce Freeman a lot, but considering that this is a 3 wide receiver set up that we're doing in this mock draft, I'm going to go ahead and draft Allen Robinson here in the 7th. Yeah, Allen Robinson in the 7th round.
I really like the logic behind the Allen Robinson pick over there. We all know what he was capable of that year in Jacksonville. Got a great, a lot of reasons to support that. We'll see if it comes together this season. I'm optimistic. I like the pick. After off there, the board we saw go Jared Cook, David Njoku, Sterling Shepard, Vance McDonald, Royce Freeman, speak of the devil, Chicago Bears defense, Dante Pettis, Latavius Murray, N'Keal Harry, LaShawn McCoy, setting up Travis now for his 7th.
Yeah, things are looking a little thin in this 14-team league now, so things are getting a little dicey for me. Thought I wanted to go running back here, but not really in love with these guys, so I might flip and go wide receiver.
What are some of the names you were hoping to see?
Well, honestly, he talked about Royce Freeman. Johnny did. I was hoping Royce Freeman would fall just a few spots. He was like 6 spots ahead of me here, so that would have been nice. Royce Freeman is a guy that I think could end up a running back 1 easily in that Denver offense, but obviously he's not available. Let's not cry over spilt milk here. I think I'm going to go with a starting back, at least for now, and Peyton Barber. It just feels so gross. So we'll draft him. I think in the Arians offense, he could see increased running lanes. They could even get him worked into the passing game a little more than he's ever been in his career. So that could be intriguing.
The risk is built in there at that.
Yeah,
pick.
and I'm going to just kind of double down on this backfield on a running back, like a stable running back, and that's Adrian Peterson. With Darius Geis' situation, they obviously signed AP because they knew Geis is kind of nursing back from a knee. And it doesn't matter if, Adrian Peterson's hurt. Last year, he had a shoulder pop in and out, and he didn't care. He kept still limping down the field for 100 yards a game. So for me, all with what's going on in Washington, I like AP.
Adrian Peterson's going to be inside of a coffin getting rolled down near the goal line.
Those yards still count.
They still count.
Yeah.
We'll see him there in 40 years. Off the board then, Jared Goff, DK Metcalf, Cam Newton, Tom Brady, Jerick McKinnon, Marvin Jones, Courtland Sutton, Geronimo Allison, Jackson Jill Jaguars.
The Jack and Jill Jaguars.
The Jack and Jill Jaguars. Emmanuel setting up Johnny here for his 8th round pick.
All right, I am going to go ahead, and I like the upside plays that my team is presenting right now. I'm liking how this is coming together, and so I'm just going to add on to that, and I'm going to draft Kyler Murray here. Probably, I put on
predictable.
It feels good, huh? It feels good. Don't lie. It feels so good when you get to grab those guys who you wanted, and there is a upside reason justifying why this isn't a bad take. You could drop him, but this is awesome. You gotta love this one there in the 8th round. What that brings, especially when we saw Jameis Winston go off the board just 2 picks later. It's like, you really want to have Jameis Winston over Kyler Murray? I don't think so. So who are you going to pair up there with Kyler Murray? Now that you're back on the clock with the 9th round pick.
So this guy is also a guy that I think that players are a little bit nervous, and rightfully so. He burned him quite heavily last year.
People taking Zantac now because of it.
But what we know is that Bruce Arians, like Travis alluded to just a little bit ago, whatever running back is the guy, is most likely an RB2 at least, and has that RB1 upside. And for me, I am heavy on Ronald Jones this year, so I will take Ronald Jones and also play a little bit of defense here on Travis, so that way he can't lock that backfield up and get for sure an RB2.
Oh, I did lock the backfield up by drafting Peyton Barber.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I don't need Ronald Jones. What did Ronald Jones do? Drop a lot of balls.
What did the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do this year? Exactly.
They didn't run the ball.
After that Rolo pick, Larry Fitzgerald, the perennial one, followed by Carlos Hyde, Jalen Samuel, Ben Roethlisberger, Los Angeles Rams defense, James Washington, Trey Burke, Devin Funchess, Dante Foreman, Ito Smith, setting up Travis for his 9th round pick.
My 19th 9th round pick.
We're going real deep on this one.
There's a lot of 9th round picks. I know.
A lot of them.
I'm actually going to take a breakout candidate guy here in Curtis Samuel, Carolina Panthers. I know that DJ Moore is slated to probably break out as well. So it's kind of going to be this battle. Who will be Carolina's #1 wide receiver? But I love what Curtis Samuel brings to this offense. And he's only a couple years removed from being a top draft pick himself. So I like him to be a little bit further along than DJ Moore in that progression. And I really love what Norv Turner's done with Carolina.
And nothing's
There's
for certain
a lot of
over
motion.
there.
Yeah.
Pick, especially taking those lower one guys. So after there, Deshaun Jackson and Austin Eckler were taken. You got your 10th round pick now.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn around and kind of take a shot at some upside here in the running back department.
We see you guys on the board. Devin Lewis.
I'm going to take Mike Davis and lock up Chicago here. I need running back help. Somebody's got to be the goal line back, and it won't be Tariq Cohen. It'll either be David Montgomery or Mike Davis. So I'm going to take those two and lock up the goal line back, Chicago.
Not a bad 10th round pick. After that, we saw the Los Angeles Chargers defense, followed by Dede Westbrook, Golden Tate, TJ Hawkinson, Delaney Walker, Anthony Miller, Rob Gronkowski. Maybe is he coming back? Maybe. Baltimore Ravens defense, Josh Allen, Kiki Kute, setting up Johnny for his 10th round pick. What's going through your mind right now? Who are you pairing up with Ronald Jones?
So at this point, yeah, you're looking at a lot of, essentially just dart throws. This is, getting deep down in here, but a lot of rumors have surfaced this past week about what's going on there in Green Bay. And what do we see? We see Marquez Valdez-Scantling is
the system is for him.
Yeah, they're saying that he is going to be the wide receiver 2 there in Green Bay, and we know what Aaron Rodgers can do to a wide receiver 2 of his, and he can make him fantasy relevant. We've seen it many times with Cobb. We thought we were gonna. I mean, for a stretch, we saw it with Geronimo Allison last year.
I mean, we've seen it as the 3rd wide receiver. Aaron Rodgers was rolling backs who can produce 3 effective wide receivers for your fantasy team. Years past, we saw James Jones, who was behind Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson, pull 15 touchdowns in. This is the kind of things you can expect from a high-powered quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers is one who can produce those kinds of. So I like that one, Johnny. That's a cool one there. After those, Jimmy Garoppolo and Jay Ajayi was taken, setting up for an 11th round pick. So let us into the inner machinations of your mind.
So this
open your mind.
Sometimes you need to look at just other teams and just get a little bit excited about your team in drafts. And when I see the person that is drafting from the 1 spot, it makes me extra excited that I took Kyler Murray where I did, because you see him also double down with Jimmy Garoppolo, and that just shows how much little faith he has in Jameis Winston. So I'm excited that I was able to kind of steal one from the computer per se. But I'm looking at the board here, and I could wait a little bit longer, but there's really no need when I'm looking at, a lot of these guys. Sure, there are a couple of running backs that I could take a stab at. Nyheim Hines.
Which ones are you thinking about? Which Nyheim Hines? Yeah, for
Nyheim Hines is a nice little piece here that, it wouldn't be too bad. Another one is Kalen Ballage. I could take the stab right there. Devin Singletary, a lot of people are also high on to make an impact there in Buffalo, but I'm going to go ahead and grab this guy just for my own comfort, and I can definitely say without uncertainty here that there is a tight end on the board, and I'm the last person to grab a tight end, but he will be at least a top 10 tight end, and that is going to be tight end Jack Doyle. Doyle rules, and we've seen this before. I understand that Eric Ebron is there and he's the touchdown guy, but Jack Doyle is the between the 20-yard line guy. We've also seen Andrew Luck produce 2 top tight ends at the position.
We have, and traditionally he's been his number 1. Eric Ebron came on the scene last year, scored a lot of touchdowns, but we'll see what happens that second year over in Indianapolis.
Yeah,
exciting pick there with your 11th rounder. After that, we saw go the Minnesota Vikings defense, Paris Campbell, Kirk Cousins, Devin Singletary, Greg Zuerlein, Sebastian Janikowski, run of the kickers, Matt Breida, Lamar Jackson, Cleveland Browns defense, Chris Thompson, and now we got Travis with your 11th round pick.
Yeah.
What kind of guys are you going to pair up here with Mike Davis?
Well, I got to keep adding to my really crappy roster already, so
just keep adding it on. Though.
Yeah,
pressure from
it's
all
like
the crap
eventually
at the bottom.
Yes, well, eventually, and one of these busters will show himself true as a good player here. I hope.
I mean, there's no reason why they have to, but it feels really good to say
exactly.
That. Say it with your chest.
I'm gonna draft Marquise Brown here. I know the concern in Baltimore. I've stated this before. I know the concern in Baltimore is they're not going to throw a ton, but he has a real legitimate shot at dominating the targets that do happen. So I really, and plus he is a speed demon. He is going to be a little
rapport.
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson and him.
I think you get Marquise Brown in space, they could do some dangerous things. So if they get some the passes that Lamar can make, over the middle short, I think they could get some really good stuff from Marquise Brown.
Travis,
and if he dominates targets, that could be fun.
The other
and then I'm going to turn around.
Well,
Go
the other thing that I want to just mention real quick on the Marquise Brown thing is they're already talking about using him in different ways. So it's not just going to have to be Lamar Jackson throwing him the ball. They're going to use him on sweeps because he's so fast. They're going to use him on screenplays. So Marquise Brown could have a lot more value than people tend to think. Just
one of those players who just based on his play type, we could see a lot of different things from him.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get him into the actual packages, wide receiver packages as well. Dak Prescott and Dallas Cowboys defense went after that, though. And who'd you take in?
So I took Dante Moncrief, Pittsburgh Steelers. 160 plus targets leaving from Antonio Brown. That's 15 touchdowns that left from Antonio Brown. There's a lot of work to be had in the Pittsburgh offense. Not saying it's going to be Dante Moncrief, but in the 12th round, a guy who has had touchdown upside before with Andrew Luck in Indianapolis. I like Dante Moncrief, a good bet to maybe emerge as a weapon in Pittsburgh.
There's no guarantee they are going his way, but they could.
Yeah.
There's a real chance that they could.
Yeah.
Over there.
They haven't been just good at drafting wide receivers. They're good at bringing wide receivers in or letting wide receivers go. They've been very good at their evaluation of wide receivers. So,
most definitely. And so then after that pick of Dante Moncrief, Big Travy in the 12th, we saw Dion Lewis come off the followed by Austin Safarian-Jenkins, Justin Tucker. My intentional slow speaking of this to allow the computer to catch up has run out, and we are here now just in time for the filibuster to end. Austin Hooper off the board. Denver Broncos D. Justice Hill, Kyle Rudolph, Greg Olsen. Back to Johnny now. 12th round pick. Who's going after Jack Doyle?
So I talked about him last round when I selected Jack Doyle, and I kind of, I got a nice little fantasy wish come true, and I'm going to go ahead and grab Kalen Ballage here. Give another dart throw at the running back position. I like what I saw at the end of last season. I do
running back for the Miami Dolphins. I heard you two talk a lot. I've heard some interesting conversations between Travis and Johnny talking about the Miami backfield and why Kalen Ballage really could be a sneaky grab over there. You still standing behind that here now?
Yeah, I'd like to see it play out a little more. What I've read out of Miami is Kalen Ballage isn't going to just give the backfield to Kenyon Drake because he's been there longer, So let's see what they do. We know that Flores comes from the Patriot tree. We know they'll want to use multiple backs. For me, I feel like Kenyon Drake could end up more of the receiving back. That's how Gase always used him. So not saying Gase is the most brilliant man, but maybe that's the way that Kenyon Drake fits in an offense. Whereas Kalen Ballage is a bigger body. He was a converted wide receiver, so there is that portion of it, but he could maybe be the more versatile of the two.
I like those points there, especially Johnny grabbing one of those guys in the 12th round. That's where you like to see those Flyers taken. After that, the Houston Texan defense was taken. Then some pick by the computer that I can't see here.
It's
setting
Rob
up Johnny.
Kelly. Fat Rob Kelly.
Fat Rob Kelly off the board. Johnny, who do you want to put next to Kalen Ballage?
So I'm going to go here, and this is a guy that I continue to see tremendous upside from. I've grabbed him in many mock drafts because I like his upside, and that is John Brown. Again,
John Brown,
he is. I don't know how he keeps going.
Wide receiver for the Bills.
I don't know how he keeps going so late in drafts, considering the cannon for an arm that we know that Josh Allen has, and we know that John Brown is speedy, and that was the one thing that made him so fantasy relevant in Arizona, was that he would just go deep and catch bombs. So
speedy receiver paired up with a big arm quarterback. That sounds like a tempting combination for excited about. So we saw then after that go Mitch Trubisky, Harrison Butker, Alexander Madison, Sam Bradford, bless his soul, Nelson Aguilar, Ted Ginn, Malcolm Brown, Gus Edwards, Matt Stafford, TJ Yeldon.
Two guys I want to talk about that I was kind of targeting in this round. Malcolm Brown, who has, an outside shot to be the running back to fill in for the Rams. And, I know everybody's on the Darrell Henderson train. Johnny drafted him there, but Malcolm Brown is a guy they made sure they kept. So that's an interesting notion. And then Alexander Madison. But still. Alexander Madison is a guy from Minnesota. Dalvin Cook has not finished a year yet. So he's an interesting guy. He's the only guy, left in the running back room. So we know Minnesota will ball. He's a good guy to bet, that a good handcuff to stash. in my opinion. I am going to take a look at who's left here, and I'm going to look for like an upside pick at running back before I go maybe kicker and defense. And
upside pick. We're seeing a lot of handcuffs over here. Jamal Williams, C.J. Anderson, Raquel Amstead, Giovanni Bernard. Any of these names standing out to you?
Not a ton.
Duke Johnson, Rex Burkhead, Alex Collins.
I think I'm going to roll with Damian Harris here, Patriots.
Bellatrix.
Yeah, there's a lot, there's always that, but they drafted some decent capital third round on Damian Harris. And Sony Michel's got another knee scope this offseason. So you're worried about maybe Sony Michel's health there being a situation. So let's just see how Damian Harris plays. I want a piece of that New England pie,
there's no
regardless.
Problem taking a stab over there in the 13th round.
Exactly.
Real draft to obtain. And we do have the concerns.
Yeah.
Who else is main back over there? Sony Michel does have lingering issues.
And I'm going to skip. I am going to skip defense and draft Naheem Hines as well as a guy that gets worked into that offense. Could be a nice bye week filler for here and there. If anything happened ahead of him to Mac, we saw the volume they gave Naheem Hines when Mac was out. It was real. So
be nice to pair a little with Andrew Luck.
Yeah, skip defense. I'll end up dropping Hines anyways for a defense for week 1.
And if you're not dropping him, you're excited about the reasons why.
Exactly.
Off the board then, Kai Fairbairn, Will Lutz, New York Jets defense, the Green Bay Packers defense, Quincy Enunwa, Darius Thomas. So definitely Janik. I just miss him so much. Janikowski. He's no longer, but he's still, and apparently still on my mind. Steven Gostkowski, followed by Jake Elliott, CJ Anderson, Kai Forbath. Johnny, you got your 14th round pick here. 2 more left. Who's you thinking about taking?
Looking at, I'm trying to decide if I want to draft a defense or not right now.
And you always can draft a defense. You can pick one up afterwards if you don't get one of those elite defense, but there is still a pick available on the board, a player who can bring real value. I would encourage a lot of people to consider doing exactly that, pass on a D or a kicker.
I definitely. There are a couple of guys here on the in the running back spot that could hold value, and more specifically, Giovanni Bernard would be a backup, and I expect Joe Mixon to get the majority of those carries. So I'm gonna pass on Giovanni, but he was in the back of my mind. But the other guy that I like here is actually Duke Johnson. And I'm going to go ahead and take Duke Johnson. We know that the Browns have said they want to use him. And we know this offense is going to be explosive. We know that he is talented. And if it does happen where they trade Duke Johnson, who knows where he could land? He could potentially become the number 1 running back there or have a more solid role as an RB2. Chances are I'll probably drop him. I would drop him for a kicker or a defense, whatever I punt here. No pun intended.
But there is excitement to be had with selecting Johnson at 14th.
Yes.
And you're not upset then if you're letting him go either. So
correct.
Cool. So with your last pick now, we saw Deshaun Hamilton and Robbie Gould go the 2 picks before. Now it's your last pick. You don't have a kicker. You don't have a defense. Are you even thinking about taking one of those guys, or are you still just looking for value?
I'm going to go ahead and draft one. I'm going to draft a kicker here just because on the defensive side, I really like Travis's whole take on doing a week-to-week streamer for defense. And so I would look, and the way he does that is he bases it off of Vegas and the over-under totals and things like that. So I would wait until those came out right before week 1 and kind of try to nab whatever defense has the lowest projected point total there. But kickers are a little bit different. They're more hit or miss per se. And so I'm just going to go ahead and grab a guy that I actually like, and that's Brett. I don't even know his last. I can't even, Maurer.
That's how much you like him.
Brett, I don't even know.
All I know is that Dallas definitely kicks a lot of field goals. He was a good kicker last year, and so I'll go ahead and take him. I felt like he was one of the best kickers on the board.
All right. So we saw Johnny's last pick with Brett, I don't know his last name, Marr, followed by Hakeem Butler, Giovanni Bernard, George Reed, Brandon Marshall, Derek Carr, Jamal Williams, Aldrich Rosas, Noah Faint, Chris Henderson, Herndon. Man, these white letters. Jimmy Graham setting up your last pick. Travis, who you going in the 15th?
Oh, we're going to get a kicker, I suppose, here. And I'll take Giorgio Tavecchio of the Atlanta Falcons. I see them scoring a lot of points.
Yeah.
So that one makes sense to me. Get a kicker on a good offense usually.
Atlanta's kicker is usually pretty good.
Yep.
And then we finally saw Mark Andrews off the Mr. Irrelevant. All right. Congratulations on another mock draft done. Johnny and Travis are now going to run down their teams, give us a little summary of how they think that they did, why they did what they did. And then after they've given their summaries, I'm going to go ahead and give a light commentary and select who I think drafted the better team. Go for it, Johnny. You start us off. You drafted first. You give us your breakdown first.
All right, so I got the 2 spot. Took Ezekiel Elliott. I would have taken either Saquon or Zeke, whichever one would have fallen to me there. It was, fortunately for me, Zeke, who I have as my number 1 running back. And then I wanted to get some wide receivers because this is a 3-start. You start 3 wide receivers. So AJ Green, Keenan Allen, 2 guys that have a very high upside, but also a pretty safe floor. And they're both right around our top 10 at the position. So I felt pretty confident in grabbing those guys. Rashad Penny and Darrell Henderson, I went with my 4th and 5th pick. I knew I wanted to get a couple of running backs because it started to get really, really thin there. So those are both guys that, and Rashad Penny, I like what he has to offer this season. And Darrell Henderson, he was electrifying in college, and that's an offense that's going to score a lot. So sure, why not take a dart throw there? And then I wanted to grab some more wide receivers. So Will Fuller is a guy I'm really heavy and high on this season. And then Allen Robinson, I went ahead and grabbed him. He was tremendous value. It was a value pick. Kyler Murray, I continue to beat that horse and beat that drum because I think that he will be a top 6 quarterback for fantasy purposes. And if he's not, guess what? I just go to the waiver wire and pick one up. Ronald Jones, I'm that's a personal opinion, I guess, of mine, that I like Ronald Jones. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, again, another dart throw, but a lot of news has come out lately. It's suggesting he would be the wide receiver 2. Wide receiver 2s are very fantasy relevant for Aaron Rodgers. Jack Doyle was the best tight end I felt in the last, up in, the 7th round is when the majority of these tight ends started really falling off cliffs. And so I felt like I grabbed a very solid tight end way later and was able to stack some value there. Kalen Ballage, he is a dart throw, but I like his upside. John Brown, same thing, high upside, dart throw, and Duke Johnson was kind of just he's there and he presents a little bit of value, so I grabbed him. And then my kicker.
All right. Thanks for the breakdown on that one. A lot of great picks, a lot of making the most of what you got over there. Big Travy.
Yeah, so I told you guys at the start of this I wanted to try a little crazy strategy, not crazy, but an unpopular strategy in the upside down, not taking running back, at least for the first 3 rounds, and I did so. So Odell Beckham Jr. to start, I believe. Obviously, Baker Mayfield is a quarterback upgrade for OBJ. The offense should be really good behind not only Freddie Kitchens, who's aggressive, but Ted Monken, who comes from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who's super aggressive. So really felt good about that. Travis Kelce is in a class really above the other 2 tight ends, in my opinion, just based on the way his quarterback play is, that offense should be. And depending on what happens with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce could be super elite at that position. Andrew Luck was my 3rd round pick to try and tie up this 3 elites. I really like all 3 of these guys' bet to be the top at their position, and so that's why I took them. And then it was time to start stacking the skill position players and trying to cover my risk that comes with drafting those 3 at the top. And so David Montgomery was my 4th round pick. Really think he's set up for a lot of volume in that Chicago offense. I really think that Matt Nagy drafted his guy or his Kareem Hunt by drafting David Montgomery, and he's come out and said it a lot. And so I think Nagy wants to get him heavily involved. Tevin Coleman was my next running back. I really think that he's got a good shot because of his experience with Kyle Shanahan to be the lead back in San Francisco. We have Alshon Jeffrey as my 2nd wide receiver. Love what Philly's poised to do here on offense. They should have a nice bounce back year with Carson Wentz fully healthy. And then it was just a stab at some older journeyman running backs here to try and get some more running back depth. And Peyton Barber in the 7th, who could be the goal line back for Tampa, and their offense could be improved with Bruce Arians there. Adrian Peterson, who seems to never die or never get old. And then Curtis Samuel was my 9th.
Dead may never die.
That's right. Curtis Samuel is my 9th round pick. I think he's got a good shot to be the number 1 wide receiver in Carolina. Now, every year that hasn't been as profitable as other years, but with North Turner, it seems like things are really starting to turn around, at least for Cam there. Mike Davis to kind of lock up that Chicago goal line back in the 10th. Marquise Brown and Dante Moncrief on the 11 and 12 turn. Just some more wide receiver stashes there. Marquise Brown could be the number 1 for Baltimore. Not a very high volume, but could be very exciting. We know he's a playmaker. And then Dante Moncrief for some touchdown upside. Damian Harris and Naheem Hines in the 13th and 14th. Just more running back depth, trying to get something in these later rounds that could end up being something for my roster. Obviously passed on defense. We'll pick one up before the first week. And then Giorgio Tavecchio at kicker.
Those there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and look upside and the going position by position comparison to Johnny and Travis's picks. So top of your roster is going to be quarterback. Johnny has Kyler Murray. Travis has Andrew Luck. Way higher floor for Andrew Kyler Murray, but ceilings, because of that running ability of Kyler Murray, because of that big arm, the ceilings close. Andrew Luck can always break 4,000 yards, can always break 40 touchdowns. This can happen over there. His wide receiving core is a little bit suspect. He is still the phenom that we know Andrew Luck to be. But I have to put Kyler Murray's upside near where Andrew Luck's could be because of the type of player Kyler Murray is, but much higher floor for Andrew Luck. You could be dropping Kyler Murray off of your drafted players list. But that's where I think those two are there. Running backs, then, we'll go with the 2 main ones. Johnny's starting 2 running backs are going to be Ezekiel Elliott and
Rashad Penny.
Rashad Penny, probably. You're loving if it's Darrell Henderson. Really use for Todd Gurley, but probably Rashad Penny over there. Ezekiel Elliott, going up against Big Travis and David Montgomery, Tevin Coleman, maybe filling in Peyton with one of those ones, not including those dart throws for the under ones there. Travis went with the no running back strategy on this one, the upside down. So his upside is obviously not as high as somebody selected a running back second off the board in Ezekiel Elliott. Also Rashad Penny, Rashad Penny is one of those ones you could drop him. I know, Johnny, you did drop him last year off your team, but it's a new season this year coming up. I think that Rashad Penny going up against Tevin Cole. I mean, I take in your number 2 spot, Travis. I like where your number 2 running back is going against Johnny's more, but Ezekiel Elliott carries so much with him. You got to give him there. Wide receivers, we got 3 of them. Johnny's 3 receivers can be AJ Green, Keenan Allen, and either Will Fuller or Allen Robinson. Big Travis is Odell Beckham, Alshon Jeffrey, and Curtis Samuel, or Marquise Brown or Dante Moncrief. While Odell is clearly the number 1 over here with the highest upside, you can't sleep on AJ Green and Keenan Allen. And it just is a really interesting thing to look at the value that you can expect to find in some of your drafts out here. Are you taking Odell over AJ or Keenan? Of course you are, but you had 12, 15 picks or something go then between Odell and AJ Green over there. And AJ Green is no slouch. Because of those ones, Alshon Jeffrey, love the upside there. The floor was kind of nervous. Curtis Samuel, same story there. I got to give the upside goes to Travis on this one because of Alshon Jeffrey, what he could do. Carson Wentz playing at an MVP, Alshon linked up like one of the best 2-1-2 combos we saw in the league. Big possession style receiver, a lot of touchdowns for Alshon. But the floor goes to Johnny for sure. Keenan Allen, AJ Green, Will Fuller, Robinson. He's not as high on the ceiling, but really good job on those receivers. They're done. Tight ends. Johnny doesn't have one, and Travis has the best in the game. Oh, excuse me. Might not week 2, but at least starting where he is right now, Jack Doyle. We know what he's doing. Johnny's taking him in the 11th round. And this is a guy who Andrew Luck has loved going back to his college days in Stanford and his earlier days there over in Indianapolis. So Jack Doyle could work out. But Travis Kelce's the man. So Travis has the floor and the ceiling on that one. We're looking then at kickers. These are Kai Forbath. I really like. Oh, excuse me. That was the computer who took him. Brett Mayer. Brett, I don't know his last name, Mayer. And Giorgio Tavecchio. I'm just going to call it a push on these ones. I like Travis's kicker a little. I think that the Atlanta
kicker
Falcons,
baby.
We know what Matt Ryan can do. Going to be airing that ball out a lot more than the more conservative drum it down the field style that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys utilize. So I like the kicker over there, but not a major swing piece there. And then did either of you guys take a defense?
We both passed on.
Both passed on defenses. So we're stacking all these things up as it goes. Pretty close when you stack all those ones there, but I got to give the nod on this one too. Good job, Johnny. Johnny gets the nod on this mock draft because of Ezekiel. He gets the nod because he has the strong running back leading the show in Ezekiel Elliott. He can really pack a punch. Ezekiel Elliott can cover the slack for even if your second running back doesn't do a great job. And then he did a great job with his wide receivers. A.J. Green, Keenan Allen, and Will Fuller, Allen Robinson. Potentially all of those guys could be wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2s on those ones, as Odell is great. Alshon Jeffrey, I really love that 6th-round pick for Alshon. But just when you put them all together there, this time, good job, Johnny. But I want to know what the Whisper Nation thinks.
That's right. Whisper Nation, weigh in with us. Hit those comments below. Let us know. Slide into the DMs. Let us know who you think won and what mock draft you guys want to see next. If you guys want more content, please head over to thefantasywhispers.com. Everything, every social media outlet we are on is right there on thefantasywhispers.com, so you can check that out.
Just Google it.
Yeah, just Google it. You'll find us eventually somewhere in the web, the dark web, maybe. No, just kidding. Don't go to the dark web. So as always, I'm Big Travy. That's Johnny Game Time Hicks, and this is Austin Cyr. And we are out. Peace.
Love you.
Love you so much.
So much.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.